that ran through the vast, desolate countryside. The sky was darkening faster than she anticipated, and the trees along the side of the road seemed to stretch ominously towards the fading light. She had been on this road countless times before, but tonight it felt different, heavy, almost suffocating. The headlights of her car illuminated the winding path ahead, casting long, airy shadows that seemed to reach out like fingers. She gripped the wheel tighter, her knuckles turning white. The radio crackled with static, and the soft hum of the engine was the only sound breaking the silence of the night. As Mia passed a dilapidated sign that read Ridgewood 10 miles, she noticed something strange in the rearview mirror. A pair of headlights appeared behind her, too close for comfort. At first, she thought it might be another car, but the vehicle didn't pass. It just followed, staying right on her tail, its lights burning brighter. She pressed her foot on the gas, trying to put some distance between herself and the mysterious car. But no matter how fast she drove, the headlights remained glued to her rearview mirror. Panic rose in her chest as she looked around for a place to pull over, but the highway stretched endlessly in both directions. The trees, tall and dark, created an oppressive tunnel of shadows. Suddenly, the car's headlights flickered and the temperature inside the vehicle dropped drastically. Mia shivered, her breath now visible in the cold air. The radio, which had been silent for some time, burst into life with a chilling voice. "Turn back, or you will never leave." Her heart pounded in her ears, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood. Mia glanced in the rearview mirror again. The headlights had disappeared. In their place was the shadow of a tall figure standing in the middle of the road, bathed in a strange, unearthly light. It was not a person, not really. It was something much darker, with an inhuman shape. Frozen, Mia slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt just feet from the figure. Her headlights illuminated its silhouette, and she could see its elongated limbs stretching unnaturally towards the car. It was as if it had been waiting for her for the exact moment she arrived. The breath caught in her throat. The shadow stepped closer, and a voice, harsh and rasping, reached her ears. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was not human. It was a low, guttural whisper that seemed to crawl into her mind, paralyzing her with fear. She could feel the presence pressing against the car, the air thick with malevolence. Without thinking, Mia threw the car into reverse and sped backward, swerving off the road. The tires screeched as they tore through the gravel. She looked back once more and saw that the figure had vanished, leaving only the faint outline of where it had stood. Shaking, Mia finally managed to find the courage to drive forward again. But her mind raced. What had she just seen? The road seemed to stretch endlessly before her, yet she felt more trapped than ever. The sign for Ridgewood had disappeared from view, and the familiar landmarks she passed regularly seemed unfamiliar, distorted. Hours seemed to pass as she continued her drive, but the highway refused to end. Mia finally pulled into a small, isolated gas station. The flickering lights overhead cast a sickly glow over the deserted pumps, and the air smelled faintly of decay. She quickly stepped out of the car, her legs weak from the tense drive. The station's attendant, an old man with hollow eyes and a grim expression, looked up as she approached. "You have seen it, haven't you?" he asked quietly, almost as if he knew she was coming. Mia, unable to speak, nodded. "That highway is cursed," the man said, his voice cracking. "Once you start driving it, you can never leave. It keeps you, it hunts you. People who get too close," he shuddered, his eyes darting around as if he feared the very words. "They never make it out." Suddenly, Mia heard a low growl behind her. Her heart stopped. She turned, and standing in the shadows by the bumps was the same figure from the road. This time, it was not a shadow. It was solid, towering, and its eyes glowed an unnatural red. "Run," the attendant whispered, his face pale. "Run, or it will take you too." Mia didn't wait another second. She bolted back to her car, but as she started the engine, she heard the voice again, louder this time. You cannot escape! The gas station blurred in her rearview mirror as she sped away. But no matter how fast she drove, no matter how far she went, the highway stretched endlessly before her. She had become part of it. The figure in the shadows was always there, waiting. And as she drove on, Sarah realized that there was no turning back. The highway of shadows had claimed her, just as it had claimed everyone before her.